In this video, I want to show you how to create sequences,
how to adjust your sequence settings, and how to make custom presets to match your media or your workflow. So the first thing I want to do is show you one quick trick to create a sequence to match your clip. In Premiere CC, you can literally just drag a piece of media and drop it right on the timeline panel. That'll create a sequence the same size and frame rate as your media. As you can see, it's created this sequence at the same dimensions as my clip based off of my clip's frame size and frame rate. Now I'm going to grab a clip in my project panel and drop it on the new item icon. That's just another way to create a sequence based on your clip settings. Now I want to undo that. When I use the new item icon, I click on it, navigate in the menu, and at the top of the stack you'll see sequence. Once I click on the word sequence inside of the menu, I get this new sequence dialog box. If you look along the left, there's a ton of available presets, but we're going to work with one specifically.
You have many choices when you choose your sequence settings, but when you're working with high definition video, there's only two main flavors: 1920 by 1080 and 1280 by 720. Now you might see P all the time at the end. That stands for progressive versus I, which is interlaced. Most TVs these days are progressive. And the frame rate that Hollywood uses is typically 24 frames per second or 23,976 to give you that film look. So the rate that a lot of people choose nowadays is the Hollywood rate, the film look, 23,976 or 23,98. Some people also know it as 24p. P again meaning progressive. So what do we choose? 720p or 1080p? If you're working with 1080 assets, meaning you shot footage in 1920 by 1080 full HD, sometimes your best option is to work in the native size.
Because everything was shot on a Canon 5D and some on iPhone, we're going to pick the digital SLR presets. And everything is in 1080p, so I'm going to choose the DSLR 1080p 24 preset. Now I'm going to name my sequence Vimeo underscore V1 underscore 1080p. And the V1 is just to show that we are going to start versioning our sequences. Versioning your sequences helps you build on your edits, so you're not afraid to take new chances and try new edits. You can always archive and move on to a new sequence by duplicating your sequences and numbering them. So let's go to the Settings tab. Inside of the Settings tab, I just want to show you a couple quick things. There is a lot of drop downs in here, but you do not need to change every single one. I'll leave this one in DSLR because we're working with DSLR footage. But if you wanted to change your codec at any time, this is a whole list of different codecs that you can work with. My time base is okay at 23,976. My frame size is already 1920 by 1080 at 16 by 9 aspect ratio. But because there's gray boxes here, I can type in whichever frame size I'd like. So you have that option. I will leave my pixel aspect ratio at square pixels 1.0. I'll leave the fields drop down alone as is. Display format is just fine at 24 frames per second, showing time code. If I wanted to change my sample rate for audio, it's right here. I can change from 48 kilohertz to 44.1 if needed. I'll leave it for the time being at 48 kilohertz. I will leave my display format for audio at audio samples. Now, video previews is just another name for renders. You can actually make lower resolution render files. So in case you wanted to plow through your edit a little faster, you can make these 1280 by 720. And now you'll have a slightly lower resolution preview file. But I want to reset these, and I actually would like to use these again when I export my file. So I will leave these at the native resolution and the native frame size. Let's go over to my tracks tab. In the tracks tab, I'm going to show you, I'm going to customize this just a little bit. I'm going to change my video tracks to 1. I'll leave my master track for audio at stereo. And I'm going to name my tracks. Voiceover. Track 2 will be my nat sound. And track 3 will be my music or music bed. And I'll just float down to where it says save preset. When I click save preset, I get the dialog box that asks me to title this preset, and if I wanted to, I can describe it. So I'm just going to call this one Vimeo 1080p DSLR. I'm going to click in the description. This preset has 1 video track and 3 audio tracks. Then I'll hit OK. And you'll notice all my available presets will populate again. And now we have a new custom bin that has my new preset inside of it. You can see that what I typed in the description pops up on the top under preset description. And below that is my video frame size, my frame rate, aspect ratio, audio settings, and everything else. So when I click OK, I have now not only created a sequence preset, but created and tweaked my sequence settings. You can also, at any time, highlight your sequence, right-click, and from the menu choose Sequence Settings. And you have access to change anything in this tab that you'd like. As you can see, if I grew my audio tracks, you can see that A3 is music, A2 is nat sound, and A1 is voiceover. And in a later lesson, I'll show you how to grow and trick your tracks. So just to show you what a sequence looks like when it's mismatched. So to avoid the black frame on the outside, you want to size your sequence and your media correctly. So work with the proper settings and make sure you pay attention to your frame size and frame rate. You can avoid having a black frame around your clips or your exported sequence. Knowing where your sequence settings are, making sequences, and how to adjust your sequence settings and create custom presets can be very important for your work inside of Premiere Pro.